Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning, Dennis.
Nice to have you with us today.
Thank
Your,
you. It's nice
from
to be
your
here again.
from your new store. It's looking really,
Yes,
really good.
thank you. Yes,
Yeah.
it's all set up.
Definitely got your touch, your real clean, neat,
Oh,
orderly, just really beautiful. Love all the sort of
oh, thank you.
sprays. Nice. You
Thank
happy?
you.
You happy with how it's
Yes,
turned
all
out?
good. All
Awesome.
happy, all good, all settled
Awesome.
in.
Cool. Did you enjoy working with Wild Christmas?
Oh, what a question. I mean, it's so amazing. Love the colors, love the boldness, love the bit of the African, or should I say, Southern Hemisphere twist.
Yes.
Like you said, no snowflakes, none of that Northern Hemisphere Christmas vibe. So it's absolutely striking and beautiful, and there's a reason why it's sold out. Everybody
Yes.
just loves.
Yeah.
So fabulous collection. I loved working with it. I've done a few little extras with it as well. I made some cards and tags and things like that.
Nice.
So which I'll share with you after the class. Fabulous collection. Loved it.
Great, great. Just a shout out to Heather Iggle, who we bought the artworks from. She's a local designer from Durban, and she created those animals with the Christmas hats. So she very kindly sold them to us to use for this Christmas collection. So a big shout out to
They
her. She's very
are
talented.
amazing.
She did
She's
the
extremely talented.
she did the Proteas, if you remember, Family
Yes,
Ties. So those
family
were
ties.
her artworks as well. So
Another lovely
Heather
touch.
Iggle, if you go on Facebook, you can follow her and see some of her other creations there. Very talented lady. Okay, Juliet,
Fabulous.
are you
No,
just
she's
going to
done an amazing job.
show us your layouts before we get
Yes,
going, and maybe just let the ladies know what they need for the class. They can get it ready.
perfect. I'll do that.
Thanks.
So welcome everybody, and I'm excited to share the projects I've done with this amazing Wild Christmas collection. And yeah, let's get to it. Let's show you what we are going to be working with and the projects that we're going to be doing today. Right, so this is the contents of our bulk pack. Oopsie, I see I have a cable in the way here. Let's just sort that out. Right, so this is our amazing Wild Christmas bulk pack. As always, our paper pack, our chipboards, acetate sheet, embellishment pack. And this month we've also got 2 fabulous craft sheets. You know, I love working with craft, so thank you, Celebr8 for that. And this is the amazing collection we're going to be working with today. I'm going to give you a quick sneak look at the projects that I've done with it, and then we're going to get our tools ready and we're going to get cracking. So the first layout I've done 2 double layouts. This is the first one, and you can have a look at these amazing animals. I have stacked these animals because I wanted to use them all, and that was quite a challenge to try and fit them all on a double layout. So I've done this collage here with the stacked animals, raised it with some foam tape, and the same on that side, while still leaving lots of space for photos and all little bits in between. So that's the first layout that we're going to be doing. The second layout, I decided to do something a little bit different and have created an Advent type layout. There is that sheet in the pack that has all the beautiful little Advent cards. And so I've created a little bit of a pop-up layout. Some of them pop up, some of them are flat, some are for photos. You can really just do your own thing with this and use as many or as few of these pop-ups as you like. And yeah, so that's the second layout.
I
So
really
what I
like
need
what
to
you've
get
done there.
ready. Yes, it was super fun, and I've used the craft sheets here, as you can see. So,
I mean,
and when we get
great
to
if you
this
got kids.
layout, yes, and when we get to this layout, if you would like to do the entire layout with pop-ups, you can do that. There's enough cardstock to do it. You can actually make every single one of these a flap. I've just done a couple to show sort of the variety between pictures, photos, and pop-ups. But you can actually, there's a number for each of the 25 days, and you can create, there are literally 24 blocks on here. I've just done one of them over there. There's 24 blocks, but you can even make them 25, and you can make each one of these a pop-up if you like. So that's up to you.
And
Right,
Juliet,
so what I need you to
if
get
you've got
out,
kids at home, you could always put little clues on each day to where a little chocolate or something is.
fabulous idea, fabulous idea. Or even you know, take a photo per day of your build up to Christmas with all your Christmas planning. In fact, even though they're small, you could put 2 little photos in here. So it could be, you know, a family picture, it could be your planning, your baking, your wrapping, whatever it is that you do to prepare for the festive season. So right.
Okay, Juliet, so there's your challenge for this layout. I know you don't do photos on many of your layouts, but for the 25 days leading up to Christmas.
You know, Dennis, I do photos. I just don't ever get to put them on my layouts. I think that's the problem. But that's a very good idea. Challenge accepted. We've actually got a group of friends that are doing a little Advent swap.
Oh,
and
no.
So this would actually be really nice to do there. We've got we're all making enough gifts, small things for everyone that's in the swap. And so every day we can take a photo of our little Advent and stick it in here. That could be a good idea. So challenge accepted. Watch the space.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's just recap quickly the tools that we're going to use this morning. As always, we're going to need our cutter, guillotine. You're going to need a ruler, and then your basic tools, obviously your scissors for your fussy cutting. You're going to need your tapes, your adhesives, foam tape, double-sided tape, or liquid glue, whichever it is that you use. In true Juliet style, we're going to use sanding blocks again, because you know that's my thing. And we're going to need some glossy accents or dimensional glaze, whichever you prefer to use, any one of the clear crystal 3D glossy accents. And then I have used, instead of inks on this layout, I have used alcohol ink markers. These are from Couture Creations. They are absolutely fabulous. I've used a red and a black. You can use any colors that work for you. They are the most amazing markers. They've got a sort of a bullet point, and then they also have a brush tip. So when we do the chipboards just now, you will see how beautifully these glide onto the chipboard without any surface preparation. They come in a massive variety of colors. So very easy to use, very simple, and highly recommend it. So we're going to do that a little different today. And that is basically all that we need. All right. So as always, we're going to get down to our cutting first. And we are going to cut and prepare for both of the layouts. I'm going to quickly show you first a quick run through of the papers and what we're going to be using. And then we're going to get our fussy cut sheets set aside. Those that have prepped already, I'll show you the fussy cut sheets that we're going to use. If not, you can cut as you go along. Just remember that you can push your space bar if you're watching live, or you can pause your video at any point if you need to catch up. All right. So let's have a look at our paper pack. These papers are absolutely beautiful. I'm sure if you have it in front of you, you can see the beautiful bold colors. If not, you need to get your hands on these. As we mentioned earlier on, the collection sold out very quickly. So you need to find a store that still has some. Right, so the first sheet is the cover sheet. This sheet we are going to be fussy cutting. So you can put that to one side. And I'm actually just going to take out the fussy cut sheets first. This one, sheet number 7, with all the journal cards, has the frames on the back. You can fussy cut this. We're actually only going to be using 2 of these blocks on the layout. And I'll show you just now, I've made some cards with the rest of the tags on this sheet. So that sheet needs to be fussy cut. And then sheet number 8 is called tidings. We are going to fussy cut all these items on the back. So we're going to use 1 or 2 of the tags. We are going to use those brackets, a couple of circles, and of course my favorite, always the little photo tabs, and 1 or 2 of the circles. So that sheet we're going to fussy cut. And then this is the Advent sheet I was referring to that we are going to use on our second layout, that it's got the Advent. And you'll see, look at these amazing images on the back. Absolutely love this sheet. And it's like, it's one sheet and it's a whole layout done. You'll see how simple that layout actually is. So this one, we are going to cut all of these into blocks, and you can just keep them. And when we get to the Advent, you can decide which side you would like to use, if you'd like to use all the numbers or if you want to alternate with some of the animal patterns. So all of those blocks, they are already pre-sized. I think they are 6 by 6 centimeters, so you don't need to cut anything smaller. Okay, and then sheet number 10 with this gorgeous wreath. I have not used this wreath this time. I've had a couple of ladies here in the week busy working on these projects, and they've made the most beautiful single layouts with this wreath in the center. So please cut it out. We are not going to use it today in this class, but we're just going to use some of these little word strips. But you can go ahead and make any extra projects or layouts with this. Some of the ladies 3D'd the animals on here and used some of the cutouts, and it looked absolutely fabulous. All right, so that sheet is just for cutting word strips. And sheet number 11, holidays. I'm just in love with these animals. I think my favorite is this little meerkat with a tinsel wrapped around him. He's just so cute and he looks so confused. Love it. All right, so we're going to cut out these animals and we are going to use these on both layouts. Okay, so these are your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sheets that are for fussy cutting. Just remember, in your paper pack, you only get one of these sheets. If you would like an additional set of these sheets, you can purchase what we call an expansion pack. And it is a pack with just these six, I call them like the fussy cutting sheets. So really, really, really worthwhile getting that expansion pack that just gives you all those extras. I've seen the most amazing cards and things made with all of these. All right, so those are all our fussy cutting sheets. If you have not prepped them, you can get them ready. I've done all my fussy cutting in advance. So we're also going to use 1 or 2 of the border strips here. So please save all your barcode border strips. They've got the most beautiful quotes on the back. And we are going to use a couple of them in the projects today. Right, then just a quick walkthrough of these papers so that you can see what is in the pack. As usual, we have the 2 sheets that if you flip the one over, they form a most beautiful background. So that is the one. It is just gorgeous. And, you know, Dennis and Erin have made it so easy for us that you actually don't even need to do much. You can use your layout just as is. And on one of the projects, we are going to actually just use this as our background because it's just perfect as is. Right, so that's the first sheet. Then sheet number 2 has again got a background or frame detail, should I call it. You have a look at that. It's just gorgeous. So we've got this lovely sort of shwe pattern, the top and bottom, and our animals framed on the edges. So that's the next sheet. Absolutely love this plaid. It is so vibrant and so bold and just gorgeous. So we've got that, and it's got a lovely sort of texture, almost like a handmade paper texture on the back. And here's our very traditional African print. Works so well with the wildlife. And a beautiful grainy black on the back. And you've got this lovely pattern as well. Love the soft muted tones, but it still has that sort of ethnic feel. It's called tinsel. And an absolutely beautiful red on the back. You can see there's little bits of texture. It's not just a plain piece of cardstock. So that is, we're going to use that quite a bit. And then our collage with all the poinsettias and some guinea fowl, and of course Africa's pride, our lion. And on the back, got a lovely textured paper, visually textured, should I say. All right, so those are the papers that we're going to be working with, and let's just get to it and let's start our cutting. All right, so we need our guillotine or our paper cutter. If you've downloaded the notes, you can follow the notes and follow the cutting guide, but I'm going to take you step by step through it with each paper. All right, so we're going to start with sheet number 1. And as mentioned before, we're doing 2 projects. So we are going to prep for both layouts at the same time. We're going to cut both of them, and I'm going to call it number 1 and number 2. The first one is just our double layout with all the photo mats, and the second project we're going to do is our Advent project. So there's not a lot of cutting for both of them actually. The Advent, there's a whole lot of little blocks, but it's really just with small pieces, so you should be able to do that quite easily. All right, so sheets number 1, we are going to use on our Advent page. And the first thing we're going to do is cut off our barcode strip. We are keeping the height of the pages exactly the same. Okay, so we want to keep this animal detail. So the size we're going to cut this is 21.5 centimeters. And as I said, our height is exactly the same. 21.5. That is our size for this sheet. 21.5 is the width, 30.5 is the height. And that is for our first layout. And then with the second sheet, we're going to flip it over. And we're going to use that side with the line image on the top right. And we are going to cut, we want that side of it, so we're going to turn it around, cut 16.5 centimeters. Okay, so that's our size for this piece. 16.5 centimeters our width, 30.5 is our height. And this is also, I should be putting this on the right-hand side. These are both for our Advent layout. We're not going to need these pieces, so you can put these aside as offcuts. Right, the next sheets that we've got are these sheets number 2. That's called Festive. And these 2 sheets are going to form the basis of our first double layout. So all that we're going to do is cut off our border strips off both. We don't need to change the height at all. So they are going to be 12 inches by 12 inches or 30.5 centimeters by 30.5 centimeters. Right, that's what it's going to look like, and that's for our first layout. Right, the next sheet we've got is this sheet called Jolly, number 3. Okay, so we want 2 strips from this. I'm going to cut off again. I'm going to cut off my border strip. You can actually leave it on and we can use it. The pattern is the same either way. So we are going to cut 2 strips for this. These are both for the Advent page, and they're going to be 9 centimeters by 30.5. So I'm going to cut at 18 and at 9. Right, so I've got 2 strips that are 9 centimeters by 30.5. Both of these are for our Advent layout, so they're going to be on the right. This is an offcut we're not going to use. You can put that away, as well as the second sheet. You can use this for some additional projects. Right, now we've got our sheet number 4 called Carols. Now we do have quite a few pieces to cut from this. It has the black on the back, and most of this is going to be used for frames and photo mats. Right, so the first piece we need to cut, let's cut off our border strip. Right, the first piece we need to cut is we're going to use it from the pattern side, and it's going to be 17 centimeters by 12. So I'm going to cut the 12 first to just save as much paper as possible. 12 by 17. Right, so it's going to be used that way, and that is our photo size, 17 centimeters by 12. This is for layout number 1. Okay. Then we're going to cut a few more pieces from this. See what size we've got left here. Right, so we need another piece that is 12 by 9.5. So I'm going to trim that to 12 and cut it 9.5. This side we're going to use on the black side, 12 centimeters by 9.5. And I've done that with a small offcut piece. That's also for our first layout. Then we're going to do another piece. We're going to have a few little extra pieces now that are, we're going to cut one 11 by 8.5. And we need quite a few pieces that are between 10 or 11 centimeters. So I'm going to cut, always try and work out how to get the most use out of your paper so that you can use all your offcuts. Right, so let's turn it this way. Let's do this piece, 10.5. 15.5. This is also going to be the black side. So it's 10.5 wide, 15.5 high. That's also for our first layout. Right, then we have two pieces that are 11 by 8.5. So I'm going to cut the 11 here. 11 by 8.5. So I'm going to cut at 17 and again at 8.5. Both of these again we're going to use on the black side. So the one is going to be 11, 8.5, and the other one we're just going to use in a portrait position. So it will be 8.5 by 11, but they are the same size. All right, so both of these pieces are for our first layout. Right, then from the same paper, we just need a couple of blocks that are 6.5 centimeters by 6.5. So we might need, we're going to cut a little bit from the second sheet, but I want to quickly show you on the advent, all of these small little blocks have been matted. So you can see some are in black, some are in that sort of shwe pattern, some of the floral pattern. You can really do any mattings that you want. So I'm just going to cut a few pieces, but it doesn't really matter whether you choose to use the red or the black. You can use whatever works behind the images that you've chosen. So we're going to need, you know, sort of 10 or 12 pieces that size, probably a few more, but feel free to use whatever small offcuts you have. All right, so I need, from this black, I need 4 pieces that are 6.5 by 6.5. There's 3. Let's see if that one will give us another one. Yeah, so there I've already got 3. So I said this size is 6.5 by 6.5, but we're going to need quite a few of those blocks. So I'm just going to cut another strip from here on my second sheet. 6.5 by 6.5. All right, so those are my 4 pieces. This is for my advent, so I'm going to put that to the right. Right, our next sheet is called, you can put this away, we're not going to use the rest, the offcuts. Our next sheet is called Tinsel. It is number 5, and it's got this beautiful red on the back. So we're going to cut a few matchings from this piece. Right, so the first piece I'm going to cut is 11 centimeters. Again, it doesn't matter which orientation you use this page, whether you use it sideways or from top to bottom, it's the same on both sides. Right, so I've cut 11. We need a piece 16 centimeters by 11. So that's my first piece. We're going to use it on the red side, 16 centimeters by 11. This is these few pieces we're cutting now are for the first layout. 16 by 11. Then we need a piece that is 11. So we need a piece 8.5 by 11. And we are going to use this on the red side. 11 by 8.5, like that. And we now need another 2 pieces of 8 by 10.5. Right, so I'm going to cut it 8 centimeters. And I need 2 pieces of 10.5. I'm going to cut it 21 and that's 10.5. Right, so our first piece we're going to use that way, 10.5 by 8, and our second piece is going to be used in a portrait position, 8 by 10.5. Right, so that's all the pieces that we need for our first layout. And again, for our second layout, we've got some pieces that we need to cut for our advent. So firstly, we need 2 strips. Put that away. We need 2 strips that are 5 centimeters by 30.5. So we're going to keep our height the same. So we need a piece that's 10. Cut that down to 5. Right, so those are our 2 strips, 5 centimeters in width by 30.5 height, and both of these are for the advent page. Right, then we've got a few little blocks that we need to cut for our advent. And again, if you are going to do something different with your advent, you can skip cutting these small blocks until you're ready to compile it. But I'm going to go ahead and get everything cut. I need 5 blocks in total that are 6.5 by 6.5. So I'm going to use the second sheet and cut 6.5 centimeters. And see how many we're going to get out of it this way. We have 2. Another 2. So I need 2 with the pattern, and I need 3 on the red side. You've got lots of paper, so don't worry about using your second sheet. Those blocks are all 6.5 by 6.5. We're having 2 on that side and 3 with the red. Right, so that's for our advent block. And then we've got 1 or 2 more small pieces. We need 2 small blocks that are 6 centimeters. That's just too short. So we'll cut another piece. We're going to cut 2 of them, 6 by 6. These are basically the size of the advent blocks. These are 2 of them that I've used just as a photo matting, 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Those are both for our advent page. And then we're done with sheet number 5. Go on to our last sheet, as the rest are all fussy cut sheets. The sheet number 6 called Traditions. Okay, and we need from this, we need 4 little blocks. We're again going to be cutting these 6.5 by 6.5 blocks. And we need 5 blocks in total. So it doesn't really matter which side you use, whether you flip it this way or that way. You just need a whole lot of small blocks. So I'm cutting them 6.5. Sorry, Mr. Lion, we cut right through your face. 1, 2, 4. Remember, these are all 6.5 by 6.5. And I actually only need 1 more. And one of them I'm going to use on the brown side. Right, so 5 blocks, 6.5 by 6.5. Those are again all for our Advent. And we are done with that sheet of paper. Okay, the second sheet, we're not going to need, you can keep that for extra projects. So that's actually all our cutting done, apart from the blocks, which you will have done with your fussy cutting. For the Advent one, we have this block that says the most wonderful time of year. I just want to trim this one slightly down. It is at the moment 6 inches, so just past 15 centimeters. I wanted about 14 centimeters. I'm going to just trim a little bit from the left and the right so that I don't cut too much of the pattern off. And we just want that, sorry, 14.5. We just want that a little bit smaller. Okay, and I'm just going to also trim it top and bottom to make sure that it's 10. Right, so that's for our Advent block. We've just taken about half to 1 centimeter off from the left and right. All right, and then our quote for layout number 1 is this one: all is calm, all is bright. And I'm just again going to trim it to make sure that it's 15, because as we know, the inches are a little bit more than, so 15 by 10. Otherwise, our mattings are going to be just too small. So just little slivers off the side, 10 by 15. And that is for our first layout. And that is all our cutting done. The only other thing that we need to cut is our craft sheets. So you can take out one of your craft sheets. You probably will only use one. If you run out of craft, you can also use, as I often do, the backing of the embellishment packs or the chipboard sheets. All right, so in this case, I'm going to cut, I need 9 blocks that are 6.5 by 13.5. Right, so this is the size that we are cutting, 6.5 by 13.5, and I need 9 blocks like that. So let's see how far we get. One, 2, 3, 4. So we should get 8 out of the first sheet, and then we can cut an additional piece. If you don't want to cut up your whole sheet, you can use one of the packagings for the extra. These pieces are going to be used for our little folds, pop-ups on the page. Right, so there we have 8, And I'm going to cut one more piece. Six and a half. About 13 and a half. Right, so I've got 9 blocks. And I think I omitted to tell you in the beginning when I showed you all the tools we're going to use. We're going to be scoring these pieces. So you're also going to need a scoring board. Whether you have a large scoring board or a small scoring board, either one will work. We won't do this right now, but you can just get that out, your scoring tool. If you don't have a scoring tool, there's some trimmers you can use it, or we can just use a bone folder and a ruler. All right, so you can just get those handy. And that is all our cutting done. Right, so I'm going to put all the papers aside for the second layout. We're just going to work on layout number 1 right now. As I said, is this layout. This is the project we're going to work on right now. So I think what I'd like to do is get our chipboards ready so that they are prepped and ready, they're dried, so that when we want to stick them on, then everything is done. So I'm going to take my alcohol ink markers. I'm going to need my glossy accents and 2 packs of chipboards. Right, so actually easier to, when we're using glossy accents, it's quite difficult sometimes to get it on the small pieces. So we're actually going to do this on the chipboards, on the frame. And I'm not going to cut the pieces loose. And we can do that a little bit later. Right, so we're going to select our titles. Okay, so let's start with this one that says seasons. I'm going to color in the ones that I have colored in. You can color in all of them if you like. Some of them I've just left plain because of the beautiful creams and natural colorings that are on the paper. Sometimes the plain chipboard is even nicer and it doesn't need to be treated. So I'm just going to do a few of them. I'm going to work on this one that says "'Tis the season to be jolly," and I'm going to use the brush tip of the alcohol ink marker, and I'm going to just do the word jolly. And you can literally see how the ink it almost like just applies itself. You hardly have to do any work. The nice thing is the point is quite small, so you can just draw it exactly where you want it. If you have already glazed your chipboard, you can even do these alcohol ink markers over the dimensional glaze. Okay, so if you have a look there, if you want it a little bit darker, you can just do a second layer. But it goes on so easily. If you don't have alcohol ink markers, you can use felt tip markers, you can use Koki pens, really any markers will work for this. I just find the alcohol ink ones, the ink just applies so softly and beautifully. All right, then I want to do this word Christmas cheer. I'm going to do the word Christmas in the red as well. And this is why I've kept it all attached to the frame, because the words are quite delicate. So if I've cut them out and you sort of drawing on them, then sometimes they move around. So it's easy just to do this while it's all attached to avoid it breaking. You can see it's very little effort. Sometimes it's nice to just do something that's quick and easy. Okay. Then I also want to do this word, this Christmas word. I don't want to get any of this ink on my frame because we are going to be using the frame. And we're only going to be glazing it unless you want to color in the frame. Then it doesn't matter. But I have kept it plain. Right, so there's our next word done. And I think that's all I've done in the red. Then with the black, I'm going to do this word cheer. How quick and easy is this? As much as I love my chalks and my inks, sometimes you just want a little bit of a bolder look, and these markers do exactly that. I'm also going to do this word season. If you have applied ink and you have gone over a part that you didn't want to go over, I will tell you that you're not going to be able to cover it or get it off. So then you might as well just color in the whole word, especially with the darker colors like the black. These alcohol ink markers come in a huge variety of colors, beautiful soft pastels and nice dark colors and all sorts of shades in between. So they're very, very user-friendly and versatile. Right, so that is basically what I'm coloring in. You can see how bold it is, which for me just works with the boldness on all the colors of the layout. Okay, so that's for the markers. And then we are going to apply glaze or glossy accents, whichever you use, to the rest of the chipboards. Okay, now this also, you've got to be quite careful with glaze because it can ooze out everywhere. Pardon me. And then you've got a nice big sticky mess. But if you do it while it's all still attached, you can wipe a little bit of away. You can use like a piercer to smooth some of the glaze, and you can just cut away the bits that have oozed over. So it is a little bit of fine detail work, but not too difficult to do. So I'm going to do all the parts that are not colored in. I'm not going to put glaze over that, but you can if you would like to. Right, so it's literally just like coloring in. Don't squeeze your bottle too hard because, as I say, it can ooze out and then it's going to be everywhere. This glaze does take some time to dry, so that's why we're doing it now. We're going to put it aside, and by the time we need to stick it on the layout, it should be dry. Depending on the weather conditions and all sorts of things, you're looking at a good 15 minutes for it to be properly dry. Right, so just see if you can see close up. Not sure if you can see. It's going to give you a lovely, shiny, glossy layer on your words. Show you on the original. I've glazed that whole frame, and I've glazed the extra little bits of the words, as well as these little texture bits that are sticking out. Right, so you can take a few minutes to do that. I'm just going to do a couple of them. I want to do this big frame. And I don't even apply ink or anything underneath it. What the glaze also does is it's going to just add a little bit of depth to the color of the beer mat, the board that is used for this laser cutting. So it just makes that tan color or that cream color a little bit richer. You can also do this afterwards if you would prefer to put the chipboards on your layout and then glaze them and leave them to dry. You can do that. The only problem is that if you make a bit of a mess like I did there, then it's going to ooze all over your page. Whereas here, I can just pick it up and then that stuff that's left behind will stay on this board. So I do prefer to do it beforehand, but you can do it either way. All right, so I'm just going to do those for now. Okay, but you can go ahead and glaze all of those, and you can glaze these as well. I haven't used these on any of the layouts. I've used them on some of the cards that I've made, which I'll show you. but these three over here, these 4 grid pieces we've used on the layout. So you can go ahead and apply glaze to that as well. As I say, once you put it on the layout, you can do it afterwards. Right, so I'm going to put my chipboards aside to dry. And let's get back to sticking our layout together. Okay, so we've got our background sheets. Here are all my pieces. Keep everything one side. And once again, we're going to pull out our sanding blocks. If you prefer to ink, you're welcome to ink your layouts. You know, I like to sand, so I'm going to go ahead and sand all of these photo mats that we have created over here. There's quite a few of them. Some of them are double matted and triple matted. Okay, so all of these other pieces that we've cut for this layout, all we want to do is just sand the edges, and I'll quickly do a little piece and show you what it looks like. You'll see how effective the sanding is. Look at that black edge, how it's just lifted against something else. So when you're matting or you're double matting, it's going to look like you've added an extra layer to your mattings, which is why I love the sanding so much. You can also use a white gel pen if you want to draw around, or if you're using lighter color papers, you can use a darker gel pen. I sometimes do both. I sand and do a gel pen line, but I do love my sanding. All right, so all of these pieces, you don't need to sand your background. All of these mattings, I'm just going to give you a few minutes and we're going to sand all our pieces. Okay, so there's going to be all sorts of scraping noises in the background. I'm doing it just out of the camera frame. You can go ahead and do all of those. Just bring my mat a little bit forward. There we go. I always do mine. I think I've mentioned it in previous classes, but if you haven't watched any of the previous classes, I take my cutting mat. I don't have a spare one with me now, but I take my cutting mat and I push it just to the edge of the table, and then I line up the edge of my matting right, and you can see it on this frame, right on the edge of the cutting mat, and actually sand like that just off the edge of the table. So that helps keeping it straight. It makes it go much quicker. Look at that. Even without putting on a background, you can see what a difference the sanding makes. Okay. If you don't have a sanding block like this, which is basically just a little comfortable grip, you can use an emery board, a nail file. You can use a little piece of sandpaper. You can use a distress tool. But the sanding blocks are the quickest and the easiest. And the easiest just to hold in your hand. I know in the last class, when we aired the class, we had a bit of a chat going, and there was a question asked like sanding, love it or hate it. And I think most of you said that you'd all converted to it and landed up loving it. If you haven't done it before, just give it a try. I'm sure you're going to love the results. And it can actually go quite quickly. You don't need to spend too much time on it, just to roughen up the edges a little bit. In fact, when you do your photos, I highly recommend sanding the edges of your photos slightly as well, because it will also create that little bit of a white edge on your photos, which displays beautifully against your backgrounds. And it will make your photos look like they just have an extra layer of matching as well. Right, just my quote. all done. I have sanded all my edges. I like to just clean up my area a little bit. Got a little brush. Of course, it's pink. A little brush just to wipe all the dust away. Okay, and now we are going to stick all of these pieces together. So I'm going to just lay them basically on the layout where they're going to go. These two are the same size. This is a very, very simple layout to put together, even though it looks like there's lots of busyness. Very, very simple. In this one, I've actually done the wrong side. I actually need that side, so I'm just going to sand it quickly. Okay, that's basically our layout construction. So, like I say, nice and easy. And we are going to now apply tape to all of these, and we're going to double mat all of these. I have not raised any of them with foam tape, so you can just stick it with your normal double-sided tape. If you use wet glue, you can go ahead and do that. Personally, I love tape because I don't want anything oozing out, and depending on the paper, Celebr8 paper is beautifully thick, so the wet glue is never a problem, but some of the other papers are sometimes a little bit thin, and the glue makes the papers buckle, and I'm not a fan of that, so I prefer to use tape. You can go photo by photo, but I like to just prep everything because it makes the process go a little bit quicker. Everything's prepped, and then you can start all the sticking down. Okay, and with tape again, you don't need to cover your whole thing because it stays nice and flat. I just do a strip top and bottom and one in the middle. All right, so now we can stick all these pieces together. I like to just use my paper piercer to remove the tape. Okay, that was silly. I should have done this one first. Okay, let's just leave that one for a minute. I'm just going to peel the top one's tape off. So you can see how the black gives nice contrast against the lighter colors. If you're looking for a tip on what colors to match your photos with, if your photos have got lots of light backgrounds, then it's best to put a dark sheet behind it. But if you have a photo that's very dark, then you want to offset that with a light background. So like here we've got light, then we put a dark color behind it. That's just my tip for matching. And your matchings can range anywhere from 0.5 centimeter to 1 centimeter. Some of these I've done a little bit thicker. You can see with this pattern because I wanted to see more of the pattern. Some of them I've just done a small border. All right. So we're going to take out all our little fussy cut bits. I have prepped all my fussy cutting. I'm going to use some of these little tabs and tags. Keep all our animals one side. You can see I've cut all of these animals. And a tip also for the fussy cutting, Celebr8 papers, their fussy cuts have that, if we just look at them again, they have that little black edge. You have a look here, there's like a little border, which is really, really helpful with fussy cutting. For those that struggle with a fussy cutting, what I do is I cut just on the inside of those black lines, because I don't want to see, I love the little bit of the white border, but I don't want to see the black line. So I cut just on the inside of those black lines. Okay, so then you're left with pieces like this, but you can just see the little bit of the white border around. You can cut right on the image if you like, but sometimes there's tiny little bits and it makes it really difficult. So I highly recommend just leaving the border on, because for me, it also complements when I've done the sanding that all my edges have that little bit of a white border. Right, so I'm just going to put all my animals one side. Okay, got lots of little bits here. Right, so the first thing I'm going to stick down is this large quote over here. And I want to use one of these little tabs underneath it. So I'm just going to place that before I stick it down. I'm not going to put a bit of glue there because it's going to slightly overlap my photo mat, and I first want to adhere my photos before I do that. So we're just leaving a little bit of a 1/2 centimeter border, roughly about 2 centimeters from the top, and we are sticking that piece down. Okay, the next piece we're doing is the small mat next to it. And just tuck it underneath there. I've lined it up with the bottom of that photo, and again, 1/2 centimeter to 1 centimeter gap between them, more or less. Okay, then we can stick this large piece down. See how quickly we're going to get this layout done. Right, I want to use another tab here. So I'm going to put that. I've used this one that says Merry Christmas. Sorry, this one that says Have a Jolly Christmas. And I'm just going to put that in the middle on that side. Okay, this one's going to need a bit of glue. As I mentioned, I think in the previous class, when I cut these tabs, I often just like to keep a little bit of the offcut, should I call it. I don't cut the tabs along the bottom. I keep a little extra piece because otherwise they're sometimes too small to slip underneath. So that it just gives me a little line to add some glue to. Okay, this one's going to go on this page. Again, about 1/2 centimeter, just less from the right-hand edge. And I'm going to stick that down like that. Right, got this small photo mat. This one's going to go below it. So we're collaging all our photo mats a little bit in the center. I'm just using this for positioning. I want to raise this tag with foam tape, but just so that I can position my last photo. Okay. Right, so there we are. Our photo mats are all stuck down, and our basic background along with the photo mats are done. All right, so now comes the fun part, and we're going to work with our animals. I'm going to put all of these little bits aside for now. Oh, we've also got this quote. This was from paper number 10 called Holly, and I want to put this quote along the bottom of my layout. So I'm going to cut it just between the words Christmas and cheer. Right, you can also sand this a little bit if you like. Don't see much of it because it's right on the bottom, but I like to just have my things a little even everywhere. So I'm going to just sand a little bit along the bottom, on top of this quote. Right, now, before I stick this down, let's just cut it in half. Okay, I have some little bits that I want to tuck underneath. So I'm just going to place those so that I know where they go, because once I've stuck this down, then it's very difficult to move. So I want to add this little guy along the bottom here. His legs are going to go underneath. So I'm going to just position everything before I stick it down. And I want to add a little tab underneath here. And I'm also going to do a couple of poinsettia flowers over here. So if you stick something like this down and then you find you want to tuck things down afterwards, you can just cut them off. They don't always have to tuck underneath. I mean, that tab, I could actually just cut off the bottom and stick along the top. But in this case, I know what I want to place, so I'm just getting it ready. I'm going to put another little flower there. All right, so that's kind of what I want to do on the bottom line. What you can also do, I do this a lot when I'm busy with layouts, so just peel a little bit of the tape off, fold it back, position it where I want, and then I've literally just stuck that little piece down. And when I'm ready with the other bits, because what it does, it also keeps it in place. So those tabs won't, that won't move, but I can go ahead and stick those things and then just pull that little piece of tape out. So it's almost like a little pull strip. Okay, so now I know where I want it and I can add these little bits. Just going to do a little bit of glue along the bottom because I don't want it to cover my picture. Later on, we want to use a bigger flower. Later on, we want to add photos, and then I don't want it stuck down, so I can't slide my photos underneath. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to peel that little piece off, and there my strip is stuck down nicely. I'm going to do the same with these. And it's these little finishes that just make your layout. This, I'm only going to glue a little bit along the bottom. I'm going to position him. I'm not going to add glue there. And his feet will go slightly off the page, and I'll just cut them afterwards. Peel off my tab. All right, so I've placed those little bits. And now we are going to do our animals on the side. So what I did with this was I took all of these animals and tried to sort of place them how I wanted them collage. We do this one. We're going to actually put this buffalo image just over him. I like to always offset them a little bit so that you see this 3D dimension. And I'm going to use the big elephant here on top. Got a little bit of a giraffe sticking out in between, like that. I'm going to use my big lion here. Okay, so all I'm doing now is I'm just placing everything so that I can get a feel of how it's going to fit in. And once you're happy with more or less where you want it, then you're going to start raising it and doing your little bits of foam tape. So I just want to fill these pieces on the side. All of this I'm going to be able to tuck underneath that tab afterwards. Okay. And I also want to frame my page with these two brackets. So use it once, use it twice, and it's going to just, being on opposite sides, it's going to just add some nice visual interest. All right, so I think I'm happy with that. This little guy I'm going to put down there. All right, so now we're going to work with our foam tape. And I'm going to start with the animals at the top. And I'm going to do my elephant first. I'm mostly going to put foam tape on the top. I'm okay if the bottom bits aren't quite stuck down. This doesn't need to be perfect. You can just put, you just want a little bit of height, a little bit of dimension underneath these pieces. Right, so I'm going to do the lion, oh, sorry, the elephant. And we're going to put him like that. If afterwards, when you're doing your photos, you find that these pieces are in the way, you can literally just trim them back or you can cut them off. I just leave them because I don't quite know what photos I'm going to place yet. So the fact that it overlaps doesn't bother me, but you can absolutely remove them at a later stage. Cut the pieces off. Okay, so I'm going to do the giraffe next. And again, I'm just going to do a little bit along the top. I'm not putting my foam tape the whole way down because otherwise the bottoms are going to start getting thick. So it's really just the tops and the bottoms are flat. Once you've stuck it down, if you find that it needs a little bit more support, you can go back and you can add small little tabs of the foam tape underneath. Okay. Love this giraffe. Put him at a bit of an angle like that. Okay, so you can see the bottoms are flat and the tops are foam taped. Right. Okay, so I'm going to do the same now with my buffalo. There's a buffalo, right? I'm going to add foam tape to the top. I'm again not going to put too much along the bottom. Let's do one more little piece. For this one, I'm going to add a little bit of wet glue along the bottom because I do want it stuck down. I feel like I should have Christmas music playing in the background. It's at that time of year where we go everywhere and there's Christmas music in the shops. Okay, so our buffalo is going along the bottom here. Okay, the bottom is flat and the top is raised. I'm going to pull the giraffe's little bauble out in front. All right, and again, I'm going to put foam tape on my bracket. I'm going to just do little bits because there are parts where the image underneath is already raised. So just going to use little bits to make this pop up. Thanks, Dennis. Right on cue. Can you believe we're at that time of the year already? Okay, now we're all feeling festive. Okay, now stuck my bracket down. Okay, meerkat, I'm going to add him as well. I'm just going to pop his head up a little bit with a small piece of tape, and I'm going to put wet glue on the bottom. We're going to add him over here. Right, so if you have a look now, you can see the layering here. And it really does look nice having the dimension. If you look like this, you can see that they're all flatter at the bottom and then all layered. So this helps when you put foam tape here that you don't have foam tape underneath, because otherwise you'll start having 3 or 4 layers and it might get too high. Right, so we're going to do exactly the same now on the left-hand side of our page. And I'm going to start with this line. At the end, we'll just trim these little pieces off. I'm going to start with the line. It's quite big, so I'm going to use a fair amount of tape for him. Also want him to stand up nicely. And then a piece there as well, that should be fine. Okay. Right, so our lion is going here. And we've got Mr. Rhino next. A little bit of glue on the bottom. So cute. Okay. These guys are just the funniest. They are very, very, very prevalent this time of the year. We have lots that are always popping around in our gardens. They're quite noisy, but very amusing to watch. Okay, so I'm going to add this one over here. We've also popped him up a little bit. Right, and the last one that's left is our this one. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to his feet. Okay, let's just pop a little bit of glue under there. And now the same with the bracket. That's just going to finish up this side of the layout. Okay. Right, so now what you can do is you can take a craft knife or a scissors and you can just cut off the edges. Oopsie, I've just lost my craft knife blade. Just give me another. Right, so we're going to do that and cut it off with a craft knife. I'm going to use my scissors because my blade has just fallen out of my craft knife. And just trim the edges that are sticking out. Sometimes it's easier to do it from the back. And the little feet at the bottom. Okay. Right, so we've also got from the fussy cut sheets, we've got these little gifts. We have this cute little meerkat. So I'm going to add him to here. I'm going to raise it and offset it so that it's a little bit of a shadow. Okay. He's going to go along there. And I have my tag. I'm using this one with the giraffe, and I'm also going to raise this with foam tape. I'm going to add that tag here. You can punch a hole through there and add an eyelet or tie a little bit of string if you like. Right, so I've got these gifts I'm going to put on either side of the layout. And I'm again going to raise them with foam tape because this is flat and I want a little bit of dimension on the side. I do love my foam tape, if you haven't noticed. Love creating a little bit of height and dimension on just about all the projects that I do. Right, so I'm going to border that quote on both sides. Again, repeating the elements so that there's symmetry. Okay. Right, let's see how our chipboards are doing. Yeah, they are basically dry. So I'm going to now cut out these that I need for this. I want to use this. It is the season title. I'm going to just snip it loose from the rest. And that title I'm going to pop in there. Okay, so I'm going to add glue to that. Okay, just adding some liquid glue to the back of this. You do want to make sure that you've got it underneath all the letters, because otherwise some of the fine letters might pull up because it is very delicate. So we definitely want to make sure that it's stuck down. Okay. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Right. Then I'm also going to cut out these words, Christmas. I'm going to put him over there. And Christmas cheer. This one I'm going to put up at the top here. And then I want to cut these words out from my frame. Okay. So the frame we're going to use as is. Just want to cut all these little joining pieces off so that they're not sticking out. Okay, and the frame I'm basically going to put over that. You can see how nicely that matting works around it. Right, so let's stick our frame down. Now, I'm not going to put glue under these titles, Merry and Bright, because I want to be able to slide my photo in underneath. So I'm only going to glue underneath the frame. And once I've placed my photos later, then I will work on gluing the actual title down. Okay, so that fits perfectly there. And now we've got sort of a double mounted frame that you can put a photo behind. Okay, some more finishing touches. I want to add embellishment. Just repeat some of the elements that we've used across the layout. I'm going to glue these little gifts down. And let's offset that one a little bit there. Okay. And we've got a couple of words. You can really use any of these words that are in your, on that sheet. This sheet, there are lots and lots and lots of these titles. So you can use word strips. There's some single words. There's some little quotes. You can use any of them that you like. I'm going to add a couple of these to the layout. I'm going to put one here, but I'm also going to, because there is a little bit of foam tape here and there, I don't want it to be wonky, so I'm going to just support the parts that you can see that is lifted and that is flat. So I'm just going to put a little bit of foam tape on that side. Just to balance it. Okay, so we're going to put a word strip there. I haven't glued this down yet. Okay, got some Christmas cheer up there. I'm going to do another little word strip over here. As I say, you can really use any of them. How nice does that red stand out there? Love the bold red. I'm going to do another little word over here. This one I'm just going to put some glue. There's already quite a bit of foam tape everywhere, so he should be fine over there. Okay, I've also added one or two little baubles here under this frame. You can just nip the tops off and just put a dot of glue, or you can always add these once you've added your photos. You can add lots of little finishes, but that just finishes off the frame nicely. Okay, so you know my favorite thing is to add all these little details. I am not saying you've got to cover every little gap, but just find little bits, little spots where you can add some of these gorgeous cut out details. Okay, so at the top here, there's this wreath image that was cut out from one of the fussy cut sheets. I'm going to add that. I'm again just putting a little bit of glue on top. I wanted to just slightly overlap my frame. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to add another bracket, which I haven't cut out yet. So I'm going to just quickly cut out another bracket. To repeat the elements that we have already used. I absolutely love this plaid, or tartan or gingham, whatever plaid. It's actually a plaid. It's so vibrant, and I just absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite patterns in this pack. Okay, so this one again, I'm going to add there, and it's just going to balance out those two. I'm going to do it with some foam tape because I want it to stand out. I'm going to add that over there. Okay, right, now as a little finishing touch, I am going to do some bows. You have your ribbons from your embellishment pack. There's this gorgeous red ribbon that I'm going to started making a little bow here. Christmas is all about packaging and sparkles and shine. So why not pretty little bows as well? So I'm going to make two. I'm going to put one there and one there. I'm just going to make another bow. See? Okay, the key to making a bow is push and pull. Pull, pull back. Pull, pull back until you get it just the right size, the right length. And then you make it nice and tight. Okay, and I'm just cutting little notches in the edges. And it just looks like a beautifully wrapped gift. Right, so I'm going to put one there and one there. And that is basically the finishing touches on our layouts. Oh, we have still some chipboards to add. My apologies, I forgot about that. Let's just discovered this beautiful all-purpose art glue from Couture Creations. It is fabulous stuff. So I'm gluing my bows down with that. Just a nice blob, and you leave it to dry and it will stick nicely. It doesn't ooze into this ribbon because the ribbon is also nice and thick. Okay, so the last thing we just want to do is add one or two of these chipboards. I haven't glazed them, but I can do that afterwards. There's just little bits of them sticking out. I'm such a fan of little textured elements like this. They don't always have a specific theme or a specific design, but just to have little bits of them peeking out from behind elements on your layout, whether it's a mesh or it's dots or grid like this, I love it. Right, so all I've done is I've got a little piece like that just sticking out, and I've got another one coming out from underneath here. I can use the smaller one. Okay. Like that. Right, so it's just a little extra element that's added to your layout, and it finishes it off really nicely. One more little flower here. If you would like to add some stickles, a little bit of sparkle, I didn't do too much stickles on this layout because there's already so much happening, and I think the glaze gave that glossy sheen, so I didn't think that it needed extra glitter. But I mean, one can always use a little bit of extra glitter. And yeah, so you can add that as you like. And that is our first layout done. Okay, you can just have a look at some of the details. All right, sorted.
Really beautiful, Juliet. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Right,
love how the
so
colors all kind of pop on it, and you know, it's very vibrant and bright and cheery for Christmas. Love it.
it really is, and yet it's still warm and inviting.
Yes, yes.
Right, so I'm just cleaning up my workspace, and then we are going to get everything ready to start our next layout. Our advent layout, as busy as it looks, it's actually super simple to put together.
Do you have any exciting plans for Christmas?
I don't know about exciting, not yet.
No jetting off to an exotic island somewhere this year.
Oh, if only. If only. Not this year.
No.
Let's plan for next year.
Sure. What are we doing? Seychelles, Maldives, Mauritius?
Well, there is possibly a Maldives trip on the cards.
Oh my word.
Yeah, I have we went as a group of girls to the Seychelles a couple of years ago.
Nice.
And so there's talk of going to the Maldives, but it's not, we were going to go in January, but it's possibly only going to be March. So we'll see. We'll hope and pray that that happens. Nothing wrong with a nice island holiday with girlfriends, eh?
No, I'm super, super jealous. So let's just change the subject now.
Yeah. Let's not talk about islands and holidays.
Erin was in Fiji
be...
this year, and I was left at home. So I'm still not quite over that.
Looks like she had the most amazing time.
Oh, yes. Oh, I lived it through the photos, so that was cool.
Yeah, and her photos were absolutely beautiful. So they looked like they had a ball.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, so I've got all my bits and pieces ready. Let's get stuck into our second layout. We are doing this Advent layout. If, as I said earlier on, if you prefer to have it as a full Advent, you can see some of the blocks I've just stuck down. Some of them I've flipped over and just used the animals. If you prefer to have a full Advent, then you will need to cut extras of these craft pieces, and you can literally flap every single piece and have photos underneath. I'm just going to do a bit of a mix match so that you can see the variety. If you don't want to do the flaps at all and you just want to have pictures stuck down, or you just want some numbers and some photos, you can absolutely do that as well. So it's really personal choice. There's more than enough paper in your pack to play around with this and do, as I say, as many or as few as you like. So I've kind of just alternated the pop-ups, or the flaps, should I say, across both pages, but my numbers are running in sequence. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I start on this page with 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. I've just used a little block, and 25. So you don't even have to do that. You can have your numbers randomly across the page. It makes it more fun to try and find the number as well. But because I didn't use all the numbers, I wanted one to be able to figure out which was the next number in the sequence. All right, so that's just the way I've done it. We cut all of these little blocks. There are 2 smaller blocks that are 6 by 6. Those are the ones that I've used. In fact, I see there should be 3. Those are the ones that I've used just for doing a plain photo mat. And then all the rest of these blocks that we cut for mattings, they should all be 6.5 by 6.5. You can use any size of the paper. You can use any of the offcuts paper. It's just to frame all the pieces. So even the plain Advents I have framed, all the pieces have got basically a little photo mat or a matting. Okay, so what we are going to do when we get to it, we are going to sand all of these little blocks, and these are my Advent blocks. that I cut from that advent sheet. At the moment, I have them all in order. Again, you've got to decide which side you'd like to use, and then you will sand whichever side is appropriate, or ink. Okay, so for example, there's 1, there's 2, and then block number 3, instead of doing that, I just flipped it over and used what was on the back. Okay, so you don't have to use them in order, but it does make sense in case you use, you find a nice animal that you want to use, and then later on you're looking for number 19, but you've used the reverse side. So I just flipped some of them over and used them like that. Okay, so for now, I'm just going to go with the flow, and I'm going to repeat the layout the way it was done in the example, and show you the steps to do it. So this background is not a full background. I've got these blocks of paper. What I've done at the back is I've actually joined my papers together. If you have additional plain cardstock or craft or white or any color that you like, and it's easier for you, you can stick your background onto a plain background sheet. That'll make it easier for you to keep the size the same. But I'm just going to use my ruler and just make sure that my pages are even, and we are going to stick the pages together at the back. We're going to join them. All right. You can possibly, if you like, there is almost enough paper, there probably was enough paper to use this full sheet as a background if you wanted to, and then just stick that on there. But I'm snipped with my paper. I want to use the rest of it. I don't want to stick over it and not have it seen. So I prefer to just cut a strip and join so that I can use the rest of it for other projects. But there is enough paper to use it as a full background, both of those tartan sheets, to use as a background and not have to join. All right. So here's what we're doing. Let me just put these out the way. Let's just get our backgrounds going. We've got that on either side. Okay, so I'm going to need my ruler because I'm going to need to measure my page to make sure that it is the right size. And I'm going to need some tape to put them together. If you have cut these pieces as per the cutting guide and you literally put them flush against each other, it will come to 30.5 centimeters or 12 inches. Let's just double check this one, the exact size. All right, so what I'm going to do now, I'm not even going to sand the edges of these because there's so much stuff being stuck over it that even you can if you like, but these little bits over here, you're hardly going to see because there's so many of the little advents and blocks and things like that stuck over it. So we're literally going to just stick them together like this. And then we have our 2 quote strips that we cut from the fussy cutting sheets. And I'm going to add my quote strips over here. Okay, so let's compile our background. For this, I'm just using double-sided tape without it being peeled off. Okay, so I'm going to do a strip like that. I'm doing the tape halfway across on the back, and then all I'm going to do is take this piece and line it up. Easier for me to do it left to right, and line it up like that. Okay, and I've stuck my 2 pieces together. I won't peel that off, that will just stay like that. And that piece is then the full length of my page, 30.5. Right, so I'm going to do the same with this. We've just got 2 pieces to stick together. Just make sure you are putting your tape on the reverse and not on the side that you need to use. Just a nice way to save paper. Right, I've got that piece. And I'm going to add that piece to the side. Double check. There we go, 30.5. Right, so that's our background. Quick and easy. And the only thing I still need to add is my 2 border strips, which I'm literally going to stick on the plaid, just at the edge there. I'm going to stick those 2 border strips like that. You can flip them around. I always like my text to read from the bottom up, but that is personal choice. Okay, so let's do that. There's nothing that needs to be tucked underneath, so we can just stick these directly down. Right next to the border of that. Right, and the same on this side. There we go. Okay, and that is the background done. Super simple. What a gorgeous background though. I just love how it's framed with these plaid strips on the side. And if you weren't doing an advent and you prefer to just do some photo mats, this just creates a gorgeous background as well. Right, so I'm going to put that aside and we're going to prep all our little blocks. In fact, what we can do is we can stick our quote down. I am going to sand the edges of this a little bit, and I'm just going to stick, that is just going to basically title what's happening on this page. And of course, the most wonderful time of year, isn't it just? And who doesn't love Christmas? And the festivities and the decorations and the hustle and bustle and families being together and gifts and fun times. Right, so the most wonderful time of year. Remember, we trimmed this a little bit to 14 or 14 and a half. So I'm going to just go ahead and stick that down. It's not matted at all. You're doing it just as is. Okay, and it is going to go over there, just in the top block. All right, and that's basically all we need to do to our background now. So let's put that aside, and we are going to work on all our little blocks. Now, we cut these from the craft cardstock early on, so I need you to take out your scoreboards. I'm just going to use my small one for now, because these are small pieces. And I just need to find my scoring tool. It seems to be lost under a mountain of papers here. Sorry, just give me a minute to find my scoring tool.
Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one, Julia, because I lose everything.
I really can't find it. How crazy is that?
It's not in the back of the scoreboard. No.
No, luckily I have more than one, so it's fine. I can use this one. I can use my bone folder. Okay. Who only has one of something? Right. So we cut these to 13 and a half. Now, you can take one. If you don't have a scoreboard, it's not a problem. You can really just fold them in half. I just like to use the scoreboard because it makes your fold nice and definite. But you can fold them and you can just flatten it with a bone folder or a burnishing tool or something like that as well. Okay, but basically I'm going to score these at just past 2.5. My scoreboard is in inches, so at basically 2 5/8, just going to do little lines like that. And what it does is it just makes your fold super simple, super easy. So I'm just going to score all of these. I actually don't normally lose stuff, Dennis. I'm actually normally have my stuff together, but you don't really want to see what my table looks like behind the scenes here today. Okay, so I'm going to flatten all of them. Now, obviously, they're going to stand up quite a bit now, but once they're on your layout and once you've worked them a little bit, they will actually flatten quite nicely, and you don't need to worry about the fact that they're standing up like this. The weight of the sticking things on top of them is also going to help with that. Right, so I've got all my little flaps. Okay, I'm going to use those just now. Right, now all that's really left to do is to mat all of these on all of these. Obviously, there's a little bit of prep work because I like to have my things sanded. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. There's going to be lots of grinding sounds, scraping sounds, but I'm just going to give all of these pieces a really quick sand all around the edges because it really does make a difference to the layout. So yes, there's lots of blocks. You should have done a time lapse for this. You've got all of these blocks, all of these, and they all need a little bit of sanding around the edges. Okay, so I'm going to give you all a few minutes to do that. Maybe Dennis wants to put that Christmas music on in the background again. Doesn't really matter which side you use. Obviously, I've just placed them, you know, in the side up that I had planned to use them. But if you find that you want to flip it around and use the other side, you can absolutely do that as well. So
Juliet, we'll have to get you to sing rather, because the last time Laura Hannah, when she was here, remember you were here, and she played some music, and
I think I'm okay, Dennis. I think I'm going to save everyone from hearing me sing. And,
anyway,
I think they prefer to hear the sanding sound.
So the AI bots actually picked it up and said it was a copyright issue and removed that part of the video out.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Right. Well, then let's just do it without music because, like I said, I think everyone would prefer to hear the scraping sounds than me singing. It's not one of my talents. I will be
maybe
honest.
you should try scrape to like jingle bells.
Jingle bells, jingle bells. We scrape in sync to synchronize with the songs.
There we go.
They don't call it the silly season for nothing either, huh?
No.
Okay, so girls, yes, this is a bit of work, but it's worth it. I mean, if you just look there, even just with the black, you can see the difference that it makes as opposed to the straight edges.
I don't think there's many people out there you have to convince anymore. I think they're.
You think so?
I think so.
Do you think all my motivating whatever has worked?
I do, and I think the stores in South Africa owe you for increased stickle sales.
Stickles and sanding blocks.
Yep.
Oh dear. Right, well, I'm almost done with half of them. So, as I say, I'm going to move quite quickly now because I don't want this to drag. But you can pause your video and get all your sanding done and then still carry on following the joys of pre-recording. So you can take your time to do this. If you need to do it over a couple of days because it's stressing you out too much, that's also fun. Okay, so I've done all my mattings, and now I'm going to do my advent blocks. I'm just going to double check that they're all the right size. As I say, if you just cut your advent straight from the sheet, then your size will be perfect. Right, so I'm going to do these upside down because I want to keep them in order still. Otherwise, we're going to spend time looking for them. I'm going to keep them in the order that I've done them, and I'm going to flip the ones over that I'm using on the reverse side at the same time. Absolutely love, love, love this advent sheet. Maybe what I can do is just in the shot, just put, while you're listening to all the scraping, I'll just lay out some of the cards and tags that I made. You can just have a look at them in the meantime, so if you have something to look at. These are some of the cards. Very, very simple. I'm not a card maker. I don't profess to be. So I did keep them very simple, but they were so easy to do because of all the images and everything on the paper that already, I mean, this is, it's basically just a cutout with a tab and a little matting and a bow. Super simple. I did use stickles here, people. Please notice there's some shiny stuff on here. So we're not going to go without stickles.
Your two tags there are really, really cool.
The tags are just, I used a little bit of foiled cardstock and glitter cardstock.
Yeah.
And put a little acetate thing over,
nice.
Eyelets and just some string, just with pieces of paper. So you can make so many of these little tags on the fussy cut sheet. I think there's about 6 or 7 of them. I've only used one on the layout. So you can make lots of these little tags and use them for your gifts. I just made 1 or 2 as an example, but so easy. Yeah. And there's so much paper. I've just added a little bit of bling and some other ribbon and things like that just to show some variety. And here I made a poinsettia flower, add a little bit of glass glitter. So yeah, super simple, super easy.
Yeah, and I mean, you
just actually go wild
with your gifts, just wrapping, you know, that old-fashioned brown paper with
the craft paper would work beautifully with this.
Yeah,
I had some of my ladies here this week that have literally made like 20 to 30 cards with and they've done the layouts, but they also bought the expansion pack, and so they've made, I mean, you cannot believe the most beautiful cards that they've made with all the rest of the papers. So there's lots and lots that you can do. I'll have to get pictures of them and send them to you because such variety.
I quite like your sort of chevron bottom on the season's greeting.
Yeah, so this one I did. This one I also thought I'll do something different. It's not a straight. So I just put 2 of the border strips back to back. Fussy cut the border strip, and then actually cut the card as well.
Oh, that's
so
very cool.
Just for something a little different. But look how nice the acetates stand up.
Very, very cool.
As well. Very, very simple. As I say, I'm not a card maker.
So I'm sure a lot of people would beg to differ there. Your cards are stunning.
You know, Dennis, you'll actually be surprised. There's a big difference between layouts and cards. You would think that if you could do the one, you can do the other. I'm not convinced. I think you know, if cards are your thing, it's a specific skill. Doing something on such a small little, but I mean, I've tried here and there, but I don't profess to know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So now, Erin, when we were sort of dating and got married, we didn't even know what scrapbooking was in those days. But she always made handmade cards for everybody in the family, and we spent hours. But the problem is that everybody got used to that. And then the pressure was on for every birthday.
And then they start expecting it, and if you don't give them their handmade card, then
yes, then it's a bit of an insult.
Yeah, no. Honestly, like I say, this collection, even for me, who, like I say, if I tell you that it took me longer to make these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items than it did to make those 2 double layouts, I'm actually not even joking. That's how long I sort of like had to think about it, and because it's just not in my wheelhouse. But it was still easy because the elements make it easy, because I didn't have to create backgrounds. I mean, this is a card. You know, it's one of the journal things. So you're just adding a few embellishments and that's it. So there wasn't much creating to do, or thinking, if I can call it that.
Well, I think this year, one of the big changes that we did do in the designing of the collections is those 6 extra sheets, adding those, but making them into almost pre-made and fussy cut items. So I think that does go a long way in helping you if you're not excessively creative, but to
definitely
get stuff together.
And also with your, you know, normally your pages number 1 and 2 that have those borders like this already kind of done for you with collaging, and it makes it so much easier to not have to create a background. You can literally just use your 2 sheets of paper. So you've definitely made it very user-friendly for those that struggle to perhaps originate their own backgrounds and things like that. Right, so number 24, I've just cut out. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to cut out the little number 24. You could have done that with 25, but it didn't fit in order. So I just decided to use number 24 for that.
Christmas
and I've just
Eve.
cut out this. Pardon?
Christmas Eve.
Yes. And I've just cut out that little circle. Right. So this one is my favorite. I just love this elephant. He is so cute. Yes. Okay, so we are now ready. Well, I'm ready to start assembling these little bits. Now, I'm going to use, because this is a lot of sticking and matching and things like that, I'm actually going to use liquid glue, which is not normally what I do, but I'm going to use liquid glue to stick most of these down, purely because of the amount of time it takes to cut all the little pieces of tape. We've literally got 25 blocks that are all matted, so it's literally 50 little blocks that need to be stuck down. So to make this flow easily, I'm going to use liquid glue, which of course you can always use with pleasure. Not that it's a problem, it's just not normally my glue of choice. And I am going to start assembling. So I've got all my blocks here in order. And I've got my matting pieces and I've got my little flap. So everything is prepped and it's now just assembly. So I want to do 4 blocks here. I have quite mostly kept the things sort of in line, but you honestly don't even have to have straight lines when you ladies. You can actually just put them anywhere. I mean, that's the whole fun of an advent. It needs to be fun and a little bit adventurous. So please feel free to change it up and mix up the order if you like. You know, you don't even have to put the numbers in sequence. You can really just have fun with it. For this purpose, like I said, I'm going to keep them in order, and I'm going to start just assembling. Right, so number 1, I'm going to put on to one of my craft blocks. These don't even need to be matted because we've sanded the edges and we get that nice little white border. So you don't even need to do any double matting or anything with this. And I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick all the pieces onto their mattings. I'm going to place them on the layout. And when I'm happy with it, then I'm going to go and stick them all down, because then you can make sure that you don't start sticking and then your lines, you've maybe got too much space at the bottom or not enough space to fit in your second row. So I'm going to just do each of them as we go along. I'm going to just prep them. Number 2, I've put on a red matting. And as I said earlier on, you really don't have to use even the same blocks that I've used. I just tried to create a little bit of variety, that I didn't have 3 black matted ones next to each other, that there was a black, a red, you know, sort of randomly spaced across the layout. But this is really something you can play around with and do as randomly or as sequenced as you like. Right, so this one I'm going to put on one of the floral backgrounds and see it just creates a nice little line. This one I've used the quote side, the animal side instead of the number. Okay, let's use a little flap again for number 5. I had so much fun doing this layout, I must tell you. So much fun. Okay, let's use another one of these. So I am going, like I said, I kept my things in order. So I am going in order here. There we go. Let's do another little one like that. Right, I need one of my red blocks. So here and there in between, I've kept a plain block instead of using the number or the pattern, because just to put a little photo. So that's what that is for. Okay, number 9, I'm going to put on a black again. It almost feels shameful to be sticking, you know, because you want to be able to use both sides. I guess one could find a way to add little flaps on here that you could flip them, but just buy an extra pack. Then you can use the other side as well. It was quite hard to decide which side to use.
Juliet, I'm always in trouble for my placement, but the more you do this, the more you realize it doesn't matter. If you have a good sheet, it doesn't matter what you put on the back of it. You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, there's always going to be someone that says, why did you put that on this side? Could you not have, you know? Yeah, I guess my logic is always, when you've got like a busy thing, then put a plainer one on the back. I guess that's my interpretation.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't matter. And like we said in the paper packs, the beauty is you get 2 of each sheet. So just use the other side. And if you really want more, then just buy some more.
Yeah.
Except when it sells out.
So my logic on this
one, a little more complicated.
Was not everybody's going to want to do an advent calendar. So let's put something on the back that's not an advent calendar. But yes, I did. Michelle Nietling got hold of me and said, what are you doing?
Why? What were you thinking? Yeah. No, you're right. It's not everyone's thing to do an advent. A lot of people don't like pop-ups. You know, if you want to put this in your album, you know, how do you access the flaps or the pockets? So each to their own. Like I said, there is a way of doing this layout. Without these, you can just have all the blocks. They don't have to lift up, or you can have them all lifting up. So you really can alter this without having to like overthink it. You can alter it to suit whatever works for you and the project that you are doing. You can have them all flat. You can have them all popping, none, some, like I say, whatever floats your boat.
But I like this because I think if there's probably 2 themes of the year where you have so many photos, that would be Christmas and probably your beach, you know, holiday. So you've got so many photos to scrap. You don't, you know, this is a nice way of getting it all on.
Absolutely.
To one layout.
And the photos can be small, you know, they don't all have to be huge photographs. Sometimes small photographs are the way to go. So see how quickly we can stick these all down. Everything's prepped and all pre-cut. You can actually assemble this layout in a flash. So like I say, I'm just placing them where they need to go. I can move things around. And when you've got everything down, you can decide, actually, I don't even want to put my numbers in order. I want it all a little bit all over, and you can do that.
Juliet, talking about photos, do you remember when it was a bit of a trend was to actually cut your photos, like cut the people out?
I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
Because that was 20 odd years ago, 22 years ago. I'm not even exaggerating. I started scrapbooking 22 years ago.
Wow.
And I remember it specifically because my my oldest son is 22, and I was pregnant with him when I discovered scrapbooking. And let me tell you, we cut all our photographs with these hideous, I say hideous now, stencils, circles and florals and bubbles, and we literally cut everything out. It
Wow.
was, I look back now and I'm actually embarrassed, but at the time it was amazing.
Yeah. So
So
we only sort of like came onto the scene now about 12 years ago. So we kind of missed that early,
you missed the ugly stage.
well, the early days.
Yeah, look, listen, in those days we thought it was amazing, and it probably was. You know, it's just that we've evolved so much that I look back now and I go, what was I thinking? You know?
Yeah.
But honestly, my layouts and projects from 10, 15 years ago are still perfect.
Yeah.
It's just that 20 plus years ago where things were very different. And obviously there were minimal products available. It was basically a few pieces of paper and some stickers. And
Yeah.
that's why we cut everything up and stenciled it. But yeah, there wasn't anything near as much available as there is now. I mean, we just had like tiny little bits. So, but we made it work.
I just remember like going into the first scrapbook shop I ever went into, and they had like rows and rows and rows of eyelets and brads, like that being like really big. But you
Then
don't,
what happened was
you don't see it.
eyelets and braids disappeared and we
Yeah.
couldn't get them. And now people beg for braids. I use eyelets all the time. They've made a huge comeback. Eyelets
Oh,
are
nice.
the bomb.
Yes.
Yes, I love eyelets. You can see I used eyelets here in the two tags I made.
Oh, stunning. Yes.
I love eyelets. I use them all the time.
Do
So
you,
I see I've cut one
do
or
you,
two
do
blocks
you sell
short.
them? Are you able to get them?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I've got eyelets, yeah.
Oh,
I love them. But again, because I use them, I sell
yep.
them.
Yes.
You know, so, but you do need a tool for it. So it's, I just need to cut one or two. I see I've cut one or two blocks short. You do need a tool to set eyelets. So, you know, that, and they're not cheap if you want to get a really good one. You know, I mean, a crocodile is probably your best thing. And I mean, those are about $1,000, but it's just, it's amazing. It's an amazing tool. So it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, so I just want to cut one or two more blocks here that are shortcut. That is 6.5. 6.5. I just need one, and I need one small red one. That's 6. Right. Sorted. Just got to sand these two. Okay. Right. How easy was that? So now all that's left is just to stick these all down. I'm going to just line them up nicely and make sure that I'm happy with the placement. And I'm going to start sticking all of these blocks down. And then we've just got a couple of little finishing touches to add, and we will be done. So I'm again using liquid glue for all of this. I actually prefer using tape with the craft, but the liquid glue will work. You just need to put it in place and then leave it to dry. So when I stick down a whole lot of things like this, I like to work from my outside edges in. So you'll notice I'm going to do the top one and then I'm going to do the bottom one. So I can make sure that I like a little bit of symmetry and I like things to balance and to line up. So it's easier to work inwards and then work with your gap. I'm going to leave a little gap so that we can add some of these, you know, we've got these little word strips that we can add in between. But if you start sticking from the top and then you realize you either don't have enough space at the bottom, then it's difficult to pull it up again. So for me, it's easier to work outside in and then fill the little gaps in the middle with an embellishment or a cutout or something like that. Okay, so starting also on the outside edges is going to give me the lines that I want to work across to make sure that everything balances. And I'm going to do the same on this side. I'm going to do my outside edges first so that it all lines up. None of these have been raised with foam tape. It's not necessary because, you know, of all the flaps, there's already a bit of dimension going on. So I have not raised any of these blocks. You can obviously do that if you prefer. Right, so my outsides are stuck down. And now I'm just going to carry on and stick all the inside blocks. And here and there, where possible, try and line them up with the blocks that are on the outside. It's just going to help us. These ones I've just got to work out that they fit in. These ones are going to slightly overlap the quote. Otherwise, we are going to run out of space. So that's why I'm working from the top, placing them so that I can work out the gaps in between. Okay, that all works out nicely. Then one nice thing with the wet glue is that you can move things around a little bit. If you've placed something and you're not quite happy with it while it's wet, you could still straighten it up. Of course, with the tape, once it's stuck, it's stuck. But it does sometimes ooze a little bit like that, which I'm not a fan of. Okay. Right, so that's that page all stuck down. And I'm going to carry on here now. Leaving that open so that we can see the line over there. I don't want to cover that, which is why I added that little strip in here so I could move him over because he's so cute. We don't want, or she, sorry, that's a lioness. We don't want to cover that. So for me, like I say, I'm trying to just keep them more or less all in line. I do like things nice and straight and balanced, but this layout really does lend itself to being, even though it's blocks, it can completely be up and down. If you wanted to lay them all, you know, in a sort of pattern like that, you could absolutely do it. It doesn't all have to be straight like mine. In fact, if you do something a little different, please share it with us. I'd love to see some variations of the straight and blocky, which is generally my style. Okay. We're on the home stretch. A little bit more to do. Right, so this one I'm going to move up here because I'm going to put a little word strip. Okay, that's all our blocks stuck down. Now I've got a couple of fussy cuts, got a few little bits and pieces that we're just going to use to add here. So actually, luckily that one is still wet because I want to stick this line down here first and then stick the block over him. So I'm not going to put too much glue over here. This is one of the advantages of wet glue, that I could quickly zip that up and stick this down first, and then I'm going to add that one back so that all the edges of that don't go over my block. Right, let's add a little, I like this one, let's add that. As I said, I've used possibly a different one on the other sheet, but on the other layout, but let's change things up a little bit. You can really use any of these that work. And I've put my number 24 here. I did raise it on a little piece of foam so that it stands out nicely. There's our Christmas Eve lioness. Okay, and I've got this little guy I'm going to add here. Again, I'm calling him a guy, but it's a girl. Okay. And these two I put over here. I'm not really worried if they cover the number. It's just a block. It doesn't have a photo or anything. So those two like that. You can just see the number in between. And I'm going to use my chipboard word that says festive. And I'm going to just add that over there. You can glaze it, you can stickle it if you want to use the markers again to color it in. I've kept mine plain because I think it just stood out so nicely there. And our other chipboard word, season's greetings. Just trim the little joining pieces off. And I've added that onto the left page. Just over there. So you can layer elements over some of the printed elements. You don't always have to keep them open. You can really just layer them. I think that one's a bit big, so let's use this one. Little block there. And some of these little circles I've used with dots of foam tape underneath. Here and there, there's one or two pieces that just need a little pop. So I'm going to add this flower here. Just create some little visual interest on that block. And on this block, we'll do Joy to the World. And maybe another little word strip. Just like that. And what else we got? A couple of flowers, the poinsettias. I had a customer come visit yesterday and she bought me the most beautiful pot of bright red Christmas poinsettias. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Jenny. Jennifer. Dennis, you know Jennifer well. It's absolutely beautiful. So I'd always love these Christmas flowers. And no Christmas layout is complete without it.
I will be contacting Jennifer and asking where my
and asking where you are. Ish, I think I've gotten her in trouble now.
I want it hand delivered in Jeffreys Bay.
Hand delivered, yeah. No, I got hand delivery. Thank you, Jennifer. They are absolutely beautiful. Okay, and that is basically our layout. I want to just put maybe 2 of those little word strips here. I just think I need to cut 1 or 2 more because I haven't seemed to find them in my fussy cutting tray. But I can do that. Oh, and of course, you can add little these dome stickers that come in your pack. You can add 1 or 2 of the dome stickers. And I've also added a little bit of the acetates, you know, cut them out. It just makes it look beautiful, like it's been printed on the paper. So you can cut out some of the acetates and just add that as you like. I normally use this zig glue for the acetates because if you just dot them on the back of the text, just little dots, I find it sticks them down really well. If you use a piece of tape, it often shows through, and the Tombow, sometimes it lifts. So this is normally the easiest way to use the acetate sheet. And look how beautiful that stands out because it looks like it's been printed on the paper.
Stunning. Well done.
And that is basically our layouts done. Yes, I want you to have fun with this. And like I say, if you've done something different, please share it with us so we can have a look and see how you've mixed things up a little bit or created, maybe find, like Dennis said, some fun ideas of what photos to put underneath these flaps. But thank you, Celebr8, for another amazing collection. I'm sure you're all going to have fun with your Christmas projects. You can make some cards, some tags. I'll just put the little cards in the frame again. And all of these cards, I do want to tell you, all of this I made with the offcuts. I didn't even use the expansion pack. So all of this is made with the offcuts after having completed both of the layouts. And there's still more. There's still lots that you can create. So I didn't use anything extra. I did obviously just use pieces of black or white cardstock or craft for my cards, but everything that's on here is made from the offcuts. Wow. So so much value. There's so much value in these bulk packs. And yeah, you can go wild. I mean, you know, there was lots of leftover papers as well. Do some more layouts and or make a whole lot of cards or some tags for the festive season.
And there's actually been some really cool projects with this collection. I think Corin Smith did a really cool, you know, like a proper advent calendar that you can put sweets in.
Yes, it is beautiful. I saw that.
Stunning. Jenny Heaslip did a really, really cool interactive layout. Sandy from Backyard, she did a stunning album, like really, really
Sandy's albums are amazing.
Michelle van Wyk did some really cool layouts as well. So yeah, just off the top of my head, but there's been some really nice projects. So yeah, if you're not sold on Juliet's, go and support one of the other
absolutely. I think this is a collection that's inspired so many people, and so many people have made amazing things with it. So please you know, get cracking and do something fun with it.
But I must be honest, obviously this was your B layout, but I really, really like this one.
Well, I don't know if I should call them A or B. Okay, you know, it's always just, I like to just say 1 or 2, because I don't know if it's like the best one and then just the other one. It's sometimes I don't know which one I prefer. I actually love the Advent.
Yes, no, so do I.
Because it's
Which
because
one
it's
did you
fun.
create first? That's what I mean by B layout. In my mind, I
I
thought you
think I
created this one.
planned, when I saw the collection, I planned to do an advent because the paper just lent itself
Yes, yes.
towards doing it. So I don't know if it was, I don't know what I finished first, but I definitely
So you
had
work
sort of
on
set
two
it.
Simultaneously.
Sometimes, yes.
Oh,
Because I'm so scared sometimes to use the paper and then I want it for the other
yeah,
layout.
for
So
the next
sometimes I
one. Okay.
plan, I'm one of those scrapbookers that does literally I've literally placed every last flower on a layout before I've stuck a single thing down. I have everything loose. And I plan and I lay and I don't stick anything down. And then maybe not every last flower, but most of them.
Yeah.
And then I will photograph it and take it all apart and start sticking it down. And then sometimes a few things change, but I plan all the little details as I'm going along, and I don't like to commit until I'm sure. So very often I work on both layouts simultaneously and I have them kind of spread out, and then I want to keep that for that layout. So it's not always about what I do first and what I do second. It's just, I don't know. Every process, I guess, is different.
No.
Some months I do, sometimes I do one layout done and then work on the second one. This particular month, I worked on them at the same time, but I knew I wanted to do something with the advent, so I put those sheets aside to work on.
Okay, well, Juliet, if I could just quickly give a quick promo. So the next collection that's coming out is almost, looking at your two layouts there, is almost a complete opposite. So it's
absolutely,
we definitely play with blues, different shades of blues, and we use white space quite a lot, which I don't often design that way, but I think it's come together quite nicely. So it's called Seaside Escape. It's not underwater, which is the normal route that we go. But yeah, so it's really, really stunning. I'm excited for you guys to see it. There's yachts, islands, sort of palm trees, lighthouses.
It is beautiful. The colors, the blues are magnificent. It's got beautiful, bold, like royal blues. It is gorgeous. And the images are kind of, I don't know if I'm using the right word, almost a little sketched, but it's stunning. It's a beautiful collection. It's going to be very versatile because it can work for just outdoors. It can work for if you're going to visit, having lunch at the harbor. It can work for a boat cruise. It can work for a beach. It can work for days by the pool. So it really is a lovely summer, but non-traditional summer layout. It's lovely. It's a beautiful collection. I'm very excited. I've started working with it already.
Oh, nice.
It's gorgeous.
Cool. So what we have decided to do with the next one is we'll do two classes again, because I think a lot of people will be going on leave. So Juliet will be doing her 2 double layouts and Jenny will be doing an interactive. And I just thought that theme would work well because we all have so many pictures of our I know you're from the Cape, but we moved to Jeffreys from Gauteng, and there's the annual migration, down to the coast. We
have that here too. Yes, the holiday makers. So we're fortunate that we have beach and sun and sea and harbors and boats and that all year round. But most people are obviously, even the locals, this is the season where we spend so much time outdoors and in the sun and soaking up the rays. So yes, we're all bound to have tons of photos for it.
Yes. So look out for those 2 classes. The collection launches on the 20th of November. It's our second to last one for the year. We're planning something quite fun for the last one, which will keep you busy between Christmas and New Year with a bit of a 2023 kind of theme to it. So I won't give too much away. That should be going to print this week. But then that'll be it for the year. So it's been a good year, I think.
It's been a fabulous year. It's been a great year for Celebr8, definitely.
Yeah, and even just this whole online concept has really progressed this year, and it's become more normal and not as daunting. And so it's going to be an interesting 2023, I think.
Absolutely, and I love that we can, share this with everyone and be in touch with people all around the world.
That's it.
As much as everyone gets the notes, there's something to be said about just watching it and seeing it happen. So we embrace the technology, and it's fabulous that we can do this. And thank you, Celebr8, for always being so generous with offering these free classes and you know, notes and online inspiration and that to your customers. It's greatly appreciated.
That's our pleasure. Thank you, Juliet, for your time and efforts. I can tell you straight away what we compensate Juliet with is definitely not enough, but she very generously does all of this and gives a lot of time.
With love.
Yeah, so thank you. We really do appreciate it.
Very welcome.
Cool. Thank you for
everyone.
joining
So
us.
we'll see you next month.
Definitely. Cool. Thanks, Juliet.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.